For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Chris Treviño for instant analysis of USC's Wednesday practice of Notre Dame week. Now, if you haven't figured it out by now, Wednesdays are kind of a limited day for us. We're only able to see 50 minutes of the team. So, of course, we pay extra attention in the interviews, specifically with defensive coordinator Todd Orlando. And we asked him this week, how do you prepare for a Notre Dame team, specifically when they've used 3 different quarterbacks this year? What do you have to say?
Yeah, it's been a big old QB carousel over there in South Bend, and Todd Orlando noted that Notre Dame head coach Brian Kelly probably wishes he could just go with the one, but they've had to use multiple different types of quarterbacks. But he said, they feel confident in the way they prepared. They've had to prepare for all 3 because you do not know what to expect with this offense, with guys coming in and out. And especially, they have 2 guys that are very similar, Jack Cohn, the transfer, the starter, the presumed starter, and then Drew Pine, the backup, who's had to come in. They're similar styles, but Tyler Buckner, the talented freshman out of San Diego, he can do damage with his legs. He's a proficient runner, kind of like Jackson Dart is with his legs. He can make plays like that on the move. So they've had to prepare for that, especially, in the red zone kind of deal. But overall, he says they've been happy with their preparation and they are fully prepared for any situation when it comes to the quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm. And Orlando also identified Notre Dame's running backs as a threat, specifically with the issues that USC's had lately with tackling. He said when they get into space, they're dangerous. So that obviously will have to be a key for USC coming into this game.
Yeah, obviously that's going to be a big storyline, like you just said. Orlando, didn't want to talk about the statistics of Notre Dame's running game because they have been struggling. Last year, Notre Dame finished as a top 25 rushing team. That's what helped get them to the playoff. But this year, it has been a different story after all those losses on the offensive line. He said they lost a lot of offensive linemen. That's been a key for them, but they have talented athletes. He's looking at it more from an athlete standpoint, and they got a bunch of talent all over the field, guys that can make plays in space. Kyron Williams, obviously 1,400 yards, over 1,400 yards last year. Big season for him. His numbers are a little bit down, but he doesn't want to look at that. He just wants to look at the talent there, and he knows they're dangerous. Notre Dame's averaging less than 100 yards rushing, which is not up to Notre Dame standards, but, they have to be careful. They cannot take them lightly just because they're struggling. And as we have seen, teams have had really good running nights and games against USC. So all you need is one game to get the things going. So they have to be very cognizant of that, and they're not taking them lightly because of the weapons that they have.
Mm-hmm. And one guy that USC has been waiting for that rush defense has been Ishmael Shepherd. He's a guy who keeps rehabbing and trying to get more work in as the weeks progress. And I got to talk to him today, and he said he's close. It's basically just a conditioning issue at this point. And I asked, well, do you expect to make the trip to South Bend? And he said, I don't know about that. You're going to have to ask Coach Williams. So I'm not sure if that's maybe a Dante Williams don't tell about injury type of thing, or if he really does not know.
Yeah, and Orlando kind of gave a little bit more clarity onto that because he was obviously asked about Ishmael Shepherd a lot. Basically, the big question is Ish going to play? Yeah. And he kind of said, it will be a how much he can play, not if he will play. If he closes out this week like he has the past few weeks, and I'm assuming that means he stays healthy and he's putting good effort in practice and his conditioning is progressing. So if he finishes out this week as he did last week, sounded like from Orlando, what he was saying is that he will be playing. He will get some sort of amount of reps. How many? We don't know, but getting Shepherd back would be a big boost for this defense that has been lacking a true nose tackle. But I also want to stress that Ishmael Shepherd, number 42, is not the fix-all for this run defense. Yeah. He is a true nose tackle body, but he is also a young guy. He looks like a grown man at 6 foot whatever, 320 pounds. But he's only played in one game in his last 2 years, and this will be his debut, possibly in South Bend, in Notre Dame on the road. So just keep your expectations low for Shepherd. He's not going to come in and just change the whole outlook of the run defense, but he can come in and help. Mm-hmm. I think that's all they want. They want the help. We still don't know how good his conditioning is, so I would expect maybe a handful of snaps, maybe in the double digits flirting with there. I think he'll get a little bit more than we expect him to get because they could use him. But again, he's not going to fix everything, but he will be a big boost to that defense.
Mm-hmm. Now, another guy who's injured but could help, or at least coming back from injury, is safety Thompson Jr. I think he kind of flew under the radar, but both Craig Naivar and Todd Orlando stressed the importance that he brings to this defense.
Yeah, I kind of asked Orlando about it. How big is it having number 30 back? Because he's been out for several weeks with a leg injury. And today we've seen him, in this last week, we've seen him get a lot more reps with the top 2 units. And, it seems like he's pushing for more time. And Orlando kind of said it's great having him back because he kind of fills this sort of hybrid tweener role of a bigger nickel and a smaller linebacker, a Sam linebacker. And he said it's great having him back because he can kind of help keep Drake Jackson what he does best. That's put his hand in the ground. You don't have to pull Drake Jackson out to kind of be in coverage.
Yeah.
I know some fans are very upset when they see number 9 in coverage. No, you want 99 in the backfield going after the quarterback, what he does best. Thompson, that's kind of the role they're hoping he can bring. He can bring that coverage skills. He can bring tackling. This defense has really struggled in tackling, and this is something we saw when Thompson first got on campus. He's a really good tackler. He can make plays behind the line, and that's something hoping that he can bring for this defense the rest of the season, and especially in South Bend. Craig Narvar kind of said, this is a guy that could have helped us the last couple of weeks where we've been struggling with our tackling. So I would expect Thompson to have a big role moving forward, and this Saturday is kind of maybe a breakout opportunity for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll have to see for sure. Now, there's been some other personnel updates that we've seen this week. What did you see in our limited time today?
Yeah, I think one of the big ones is that Parker Lewis, we did not see him at practice on Tuesday, but he was back out there today. It seemed like he was kind of held back a little bit. I mean, we only got to see the 50 minutes, but I didn't see him doing the opening kickoff warm-ups that usually the specialists do when the team is warming up off to the side. Didn't see him doing that. Saw him doing some, walk through a little bit of miming kicks. And they didn't do any field goal to start practice like we've seen, so they limited him there. We didn't get to see him at that point, but it seems like he's obviously joined the team again. He's with out there in practice, so that's a good development after he wasn't there on Tuesday. And then the other thing is we did see Drake London on the table briefly right at the end of our viewing point. Looked like he was getting his foot looked at, but we didn't see anything outside of that later. Yeah. But it's something to keep in mind and something we'll have to talk to Dante with on Thursday morning when he gives his media availability, because obviously you need number 15 when you're going to South Bend. You want to pull that upset. You need big number 15. You need to make him play. So that's something to keep an eye on. But as you know, Drake London has battled through multiple bumps and bruises and nicks all this season. So, I mean, it could just be that, but definitely something we need to keep an eye on.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Alrighty, Chris, it's that time of instant, Wednesday instant. It's time for some game predictions. How do you think this one's going to go?
Oof. I've been sort of interested in seeing how this team will play, because they do seem to have this sort of different focus, and they bring it a new level of intensity when they get on the road. They're 2-0 on the road this season. And obviously, yes, before you yell at me, I know those are not the greatest teams, Washington State and then Colorado, not great teams that are playing good football. Well, Washington State was, but we don't have to get in the can of worms that is. But at the time, they were not good teams. So it's going to be interesting. This will be a good test to see if they truly are road warriors, or they've just gotten lucky with the opponents they're playing on the road. Notre Dame will obviously be the best opponent they've played so far and on the road. So I think they're going to make it a game. I don't think it's going to be any sort of like blowout you've seen in the Coliseum the last 3 weeks. I think it's going to be a game. I think it's going to be competitive. I think the rivalry is going to, they didn't play it last year, obviously, and that's a big thing. College football needs this game. Mm-hmm. College football wants this game, so I think they're going to understand the importance of that, of bringing this game back. So I think the Trojans are going to come out with a little bit more fight. I think it's going to be a closer game. I think Notre Dame still gets it in the end. Just being on the road. I think they're a little bit of a better team, but USC absolutely has the talent to get it done. They just need some things to go their way. They need the run game to hold up. They need Drake London to Drake London. They need Keenan Slovis to make plays. We never know what we're going to see. I still feel like it's Notre Dame, but I think it'll be a fun one.
Okay, interesting. Alrighty. And before I ask you for final thoughts, Chris, I just have to give you a special shout out. Doing instant filling in for Shotgun less than a week from getting wisdom teeth surgery. So shouts to you. You get a gold star for that one. But any final thoughts before we wrap this one up?
Final thoughts. I think a lot of these guys this is obviously going to be their first time in the rivalry. And I talked to Michael Hutchings about this, or he was talking about this, how, his team was the last team. He was on that team that beat them in the Coliseum. So he's been talking to guys to just kind of hit on them the importance of this game, the magnitude of this game. And I know coaches love to say, no face, no name. They don't like to put you want to practice the same every week, no matter who you're playing. But sometimes it's hard to do that, because this is Notre Dame USC. We've talked about it, and he kind of said he wants them to understand the magnitude of this game and the importance of going to win the Shillelagh. I said that right? The Jewel Shillelagh, about bringing that back to USC, going to South Bend, a historic place, like the Coliseum is a historic place. So there's a lot of history here. So trying to put that in their head, trying to put that in the young guys who haven't been there before. This will be their first taste of the rivalry. The redshirt freshmen, too, because obviously they didn't get it last year, too. Yeah. So you have two classes that are experiencing this for the first time. So that was really something I took away with. And, even Craig Narvar, they know about this rivalry. The Texas coaches, they've been part of the Red River Shootout and that rivalry, but they know the importance of it too, just having been in that one. They understand that this is, Craig Naivar said, the pinnacle, one of the pinnacle rivalries of college football. So that's kind of been the theme this week, and I think the guys are going to take that in and dish that out on Saturday.
Interesting. Alrighty. Okay, that's going to wrap it up for USC's Wednesday practice of Notre Dame week. For Chris Treviño, I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out uscfootball.com.